Blundering Tony Blair quits as Middle East peace envoy. Only Israel will miss him. Tony Blair's time as Middle East envoy representing the US, Russia, the UN and the EU has finally come to an end. 8 years after he took up the role, Blair tendered his resignation and left one question. How come a war criminal ever became a peace envoy in the first place? The people of the Middle East and much of the world have been asking this question ever since Blair was appointed the quartet's man in Jerusalem, solemnly and hopelessly tasked to bring peace between Israelis and Palestinians. Was his new mission supposed to wash the blood from his hands after the catastrophe of the Bush-Blair invasion of Iraq and the hundreds of thousands of innocents who died as a result? For Arabs and for Britons who lost their loved ones in this shambolic war in Iraq, Blair's appointment was an insult. The man who never said he was sorry for his political disaster simply turned up in Jerusalem 4 years later and with a team which spent millions in accommodation and airfares managed to accomplish absolutely nothing in the near decade that followed. Is Tony Blair the most hated man in Western society, the world even? Is it his smarmy smirk that does it? Tony Blair lied the country to get the UK into a war in Iraq, which resulted in 179 British soldiers being killed, all because Blair promised his mate George Bush and his other mates, the oil companies, access to the Iraqis' oil. Tony Blair is like the John McCain of the UK. Whenever there's an issue in the Middle East, Blair is always calling for us to intervene militarily, despite being a peace envoy. His latest attempt was to try and convince us to intervene in Iraq again and Syria. Like anyone's gonna listen to Tony Blair, I'm amazed that the news organisations still give him airtime. Intervene in Iraq and Syria, or Britain will face terror attacks. Blair warns UK should get involved as he defends decision to topple Saddam. Tony Blair this morning said Britain need to take action in Iraq and Syria or face terror attacks at home. The former Prime Minister said the UK needed to intervene to stop a total disaster. He insisted that he was not calling for troops on the ground, but suggested the selective use of air power was one option on the table. I bet Tony Blair thought by saying this he could somehow earn more commission on weapons sales. Tony Blair is a war criminal who will hopefully one day pay for the nearly 1 million dead Iraqis his decision to go to war has caused. The invasion has also led directly to the issues we see today in Iraq and Syria. This is where ISIS amaze me. If they wanted to get sympathy from the Western world, take out Tony Blair. Taking out Tony Blair would make the planet a lot safer place and cause celebrations nationwide, if not worldwide. I am, of course, not being serious. Blair Force One, millionaire former Prime Minister, is travelling the world in plush £7,000 an hour private jet. When he was Prime Minister, plans for a presidential-style Blair Force One jet were rejected as too expensive. But now Tony Blair appears to be footing the bill for his own £30 million private plane. The former Prime Minister has been stepping out of a £7,000 an hour bespoke aircraft complete with stateroom, lounge, kitchen and bed. I wonder what the job description for the new Middle East peace envoy will be like. Slimy ex-leader of a country required to laughably try and bring peace in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. This role will allow you plenty of time to line your own pockets with secret oil company deals. The successful candidate must be a mass murderer and must have a potential war criminal charge hanging over them. They must be emotionless, heartless and compassionless. Oh, and a really ugly wife is desirable, but not essential. They say Tony Blair is now worth between 50 and 100 million pounds. Most of this has been earnt, and I use the term very loosely, as it's more of a payoff from the oil companies he was doing deals with in Iraq whilst British troops were dying. Tony Blair has earned his money doing deals while supposedly being the peace envoy. Tony Blair's £41,000 a month deal with Saudi oil company revealed. The ex-premier signed an agreement with Petro Saudi which allegedly saw him pocket thousands a month in commission on deals he helped broker. The new company was founded by a senior member of the Saudi royal family in November 2010. The agreement was to promote the company to Chinese leaders and fees would be $41,000 a month with a 2% commission, the Sunday Times reports. The newspaper has a 21-page leaked document which it says is the first time a detailed contract from Tony Blair Associates has been revealed. What is it with politicians? Average Joe has to focus on one job, and that's it. If you're a politician, say like Malcolm Rifkin, I know he's left the parliament now, but at the time he was an MP, he had 6 other jobs. And there's loads of MPs who have 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th jobs. Surely there was enough for Tony Blair to fill his day trying to bring about peace between Israel and Palestine without having to get involved with deals with the very oil companies that Blair paved the way for with his Iraq slaughter. If I was Blair's employer, I'd question his commitment to the cause of peace. But what makes Tony Blair the most despicable man to walk this earth at the moment, in my opinion, is that Tony Blair was not only doing deals with oil companies as our troops were being killed, but he was also making secret deals with oil companies a year before the invasion in 2003. Secret memos expose link between oil firms and invasion of Iraq. Plans to exploit Iraq's oil reserves were discussed by government ministers and the world's largest oil companies the year before Britain took a leading role in invading Iraq, government documents show. Tony Blair, you utterly disgust me.